Martine Franck was fortunate enough that her parents used a privileged economic situation not to isolate her socially, but to take her to museums and galleries from a very young age. This kind of exposure to art awakened in children, among other things, curiosity, empathy, and the appreciation for diversity, in addition to language development by learning how to express ideas, identify feelings, and recognize ranges of colors and shapes. Later in university, her thesis focused on sculpture and cubism. I mention her academic background because in it we basically have a recap of the key points to understand her work. She's interested in the sense of community, age groups, and social movements. Technically, we see a variety of shooting points, but frames within the frame and textured surfaces are also very frequent. Her interest in photography began on an international trip with friends. This experience motivated her so much that upon her return, she took a job as a studio assistant and began taking commissions for various magazines. For over 4 decades, Martine was the official photographer for a theater company. This wonderful experience was not only a never-ending exercise of trying out different things, but also gave her the opportunity to visit hundreds of places. And it was in Nepal when she began to understand that her motivation in her occupation as a photographer came from the human aspect of her work. That is, from the admiration for what was happening in front of her in the present moment, and not for the future repercussions that a photo could achieve. Her discreet approach to the subject doesn't interfere in any way with the activity happening in front of her, letting life to occur in the same way as it would if she was not there. Nothing to do what it was practiced widely at the time, which was stop in motion with a powerful flashlight. Her work assignments were neither planned nor developed on a production table. On the contrary, they were pleasant visits where the final image was born naturally. That's why in her portraits there is no staging nor the rigidity of a pose. Many of them are not even taken under optimal lighting conditions. Instead, we see the moment when the silence floods the space, when the mind gets quiet, observes, and feels its surroundings. When the adventure of creating images took her to open spaces, she was in a state of meditation, and her camera adapted what her eyes saw into a language that her heart understood. In post-production, traces of her formal education are evident when a meticulous order emerged within each shot and the logic that she unconsciously used. Far from the trends, she was never interested in seeing her name alongside the so-called masters of photography. Her intention was always to know herself, to understand why certain situations bother her or caught her attention, and how those same situations were reflected in other people. In this way, she not only creates a perspective of the facts, but also a connection with others. Engaged with her own time, her role as a documentarist got her involved in the different social happenings of the 20th century. For her, existing was synonym of permanent revolution, adaptation, and critical thinking. in her work almost entirely in black and white, we see people who change their destinies at will, who assume solitude and uncertainty when they decide to leave the social path, making their own way, with the strength of their bodies and the cunning of their minds, and not with family names. My name is Mauricio Defex. Thank you very much.